have equally prepared 1958 Austin Healey Bug-Eye Sprites. Have you gone through the list?
Yes, he is the faster of the two, Austin High. No, I haven't been through each and every one. I just mentioned the smorgasbord of different cars, from the Brabhams to the Lotus and so on and so forth.
And this is a crazy group. There's just nothing that we could have done. We don't like to mix production cars with open-wheel cars. There's some visibility issues and just also durability issues.
Yeah.
That, if a open-wheel car hits production car, it could be bad, but it's all we could do. So if you're wondering what's happening, we don't normally like to do this, but there are some really cool cars in here. And one of my favorites in the open wheel class, but I'm not seeing him, is Tom Freilich. Oh, there he is. He's coming in right there, number 10, the black car. He's a Formula 4 driver. I've got a good story about him later as we see Booger, and here they come to take the green, Jonathan.
Yep, this is our group 1, 2, 3, and 4. Open wheelers and a few extras heading for the start of their race, their first feature race of the weekend of 2. And away they go. Green flag waves. And a good start from Robert Bowden in the number 40, right at the center of your picture.
Look at that Lotus.
The inside comes the Lotus. Ooh, nicely done.
Randall Green in that 1963 Lotus 23B. Now expect that Formula B to get back up to him, but he just had a really good run down the hill, used his momentum, and took the lead. Let's see if anybody uses the curbs here.
And the ever-present John Nash is in this one too, in his Lotus Super 7.
Yeah.
He gets some mileage in that
And
thing.
if you keep thinking, why is his car in two different groups? It's not. He has very similarly prepared cars, both prepared for that group. And this is a different group, 1, 2, 3, 4. If they're in open wheel, they're group 2. And usually the Lotus is actually group 5. So that should be a...
And by the way, if this is all meaningless to you in terms of explaining the groups, we can explain them, but you can also go to the SVRA website at any time and look at the groups and how they're specified and what counts as a group car and what you need in terms of displacement and in terms of preparation. And it's actually a good read because if you are into these kinds of cars, then you can understand how the groups are made. And it's no mean feat. I'm quite impressed how you put the groups together.
Yeah, it looks like we had a change for lead, and now the Lotus 23 is using its momentum to get back. But for a while, Robert Bowden had the lead in his number 40A Alpha. 1969 Brabham BT29. I'm in the process right now of editing what I think is the best vintage race I've ever seen, which were the Formula B race at Circuit of the Americas 2 weekends ago, where we had two Brabhams driving Brabhams.
I know, I just explained that.
And Tonis Casimets. It was unbelievable. And we're going to put that up on our social media here soon. And then you see this number 10 there, that Formula 4. That is Tom Freilich. This is going to take a while, but it's worth it.
We'll stay on it.
Tom met me by coming up to me and saying, hey, do you do the videos for SVRA? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, you need to do more open-wheel cars. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Tell me more about that. Let me learn about that. And so he talked. We've been friends ever since. Great guy. I try my best, Tom, to include. I love the livery on this, and Marilyn, his wife, actually came up with that font for the 10 and the color scheme.
It's nice.
But he is a builder in Key West. He's just done a 4 or 6 month trip around the country in his RV doing trout fishing, fly fishing. He's a builder in Key West, a post and beam builder.
Well, who's doing the building then?
He is also a champion sandcastle constructor. 2012, 2013. World champion sandcastle, and I talked to him about that.
This man has too
much time. And he would actually say sand sculptor. He would correct me. I'm not a sandcastle. I'm a sand sculptor because he can make anything. But there's a champion in our race car drivers and in sandcastles.
So you're telling me he's a builder in Florida, but he just doesn't build very strong.
No, he builds
buildings.
post and beam.
They're made of sand.
Really custom houses. It's really neat. He's shown me some pictures, but he's also a sandcastle champion. Tom Freilich and that beautiful number 10. And his wife Marilyn is here with us. She's a school teacher, former school teacher, and she's having the time of her life as well. Look at this battle. Formula Fords going into 10A. Tom Freilich overtaken right there, but he is a really good driver, Tom Freilich. So expect him to be back out front in that group.
And the group 1, 2, 3, and 4, led by Randall Green, Robert Bowden, and in fact, Mitchell Hibbs going over into third place ahead of Tom Freilich, and we just saw that action going on. Gregory Hibbs in fifth place, John Nash in sixth in another Lotus Super 7, but as you explained, a different Lotus Super 7.
This is a fun race right here with these open wheels. Even though this is a small group, this is close racing, and there's some different classes here. Even in these cars, even though they look the same and they're different styles of Formula Ford, but you've got Formula Ford, you've got Club Ford, you've got Formula B. So there's a lot happening right now.
And if you just go to the settings on your TV and change it to black and white, and I change my voice to this, you can say it's 1969, and here they go, up the hill here at Road Atlanta. Absolutely splendid. What a sight. As they come down to our cameraman Tom at turn 6, what a sight to see.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that piece right there and make it black and white for our social media. It's like watching those old, Pathé videos.
Yes, that's exactly what the impression was. I'm glad you got the reference.
I love it. You're going to have to do that from now on. That's Daniel Becker there in the 71, 1977 Crossley 32F.
And the time, like you say, you get here on a Tuesday, the time they put into these cars is amazing. I mean, they get enough time on track, they get good time on track, but given the amount of time that they fettle and love these cars, it's almost a worry when you see a car like we did earlier going into the barriers. It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
And we were talking about Tom Freilich. He was actually here last weekend racing with another great vintage organization called VDCA. And in fact, the first laps I've ever gotten to the racetrack were here at Michelin Raceway, Road Atlanta. The VDCA chief steward at the time, Bud Merrill, a legend, took me around track in his car and showed me and tried to teach me everything he knew. I tried my best to keep up with him, but I learned so much in those 2 laps.
You know, we've got a great battle here between Randall Green and Robert Bowden. There's only half a second between them at the front, so we take a look at John Nash again. Currently 7th overall, but first in his group, I may add.
And Lorna, his wife, told me that they had family in
To
Israel
a lot of the wives.
watching. Yeah, I do. She's one of my favorites in the paddock. And because, we're with them for, let's say, 15 weekends a year, we become really close. It's just a traveling circus. John and his wife, Lorna, are with us, 15 weekends a year.
Yeah, it's
so
a lot
we
of time.
become really close. But she said that her family was watching in Israel. So if you're watching, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us where you're watching from. Leave comments on our social media and who you're rooting for. And you can look up Tom Freilich's Sandcastles on Google, and you will definitely be impressed.
Okay.
Sand sculpture, sorry. There's Andy McLean.
Here they come.
Still beating Scott Frazier. Both of them were running for Group 1 championship, but then COVID got in the way of Andrew McLean. If you were watching us at VIR, I was talking about him faking that he was Scottish because he didn't bring me a Scottish flag to hang up in our Hall of Heritage. Well, now I said that he has the accent because he watched Shrek. Well, now I have to go back on that because he brought me a Scottish flag.
There you go.
Scottish form. It's way too big. And that was his little jab back to me.
Yep.
And so I hung it up, and we're flying the Scottish flag for you. Andy McLean being battled by his good friend Scott Frazier. And look at the smile on those cars having the time of their lives.
Yeah, they look a lot of fun to race, don't they?
Yes. I will do that someday. So that's Kermit, the Frog Eye Sprite, following Andy McLean. Andy's son also races a Bug Eye Sprite with us.
There's going to be an overtake between these two.
Could be.
Here we go.
Scott is from Atlanta. Andy is currently living in Boston. They have the same mechanic, and these 2 cars are set up exactly the same. So this little class we're watching here, this class within a class, is all about drivers. Scott Frazier is expecting his first child here in a few months. So it's really fun to see him out here racing. He won a national championship with us just 2 weeks ago. He's our champion in Group 1 last year, but Andy's showing him how to get around Road Atlanta currently.
And these are tiny cars, but they are shifting. The power-to-weight ratio is good.
Yeah, fun to watch. They're sliding around a little bit. They just keep smiling, and they're coming up on their friend John Nash right now. I mean, look at them. I want to animate eyeballs in there because they look like they're having so much fun. Look at this car. I hope we get a side shot of this because he's got this downdraft that's a side draft carburetor going into this car. Leo Basile in a 1965 Cooper T75. You see that stack up there?
Yeah,
That's a carburetor just going straight down into the engine. It's really neat. And that's the other thing about coming to these events. Leo would love to show you and talk to you about the mechanicals. You can explore and walk through the open paddocks, and if you talk to the drivers, they will be absolutely thrilled. get their autographs, and I tell you what, they all have great stories.
And if you've got a little boy or a little girl, they're quite happy to sit you in the seat and get a thrill for doing that. And it's not often, hey, you can go outside the supermarket and sit in one of those playthings, but hey, sitting in the real things, that's a lot more fun.
The car that I'm missing, I haven't seen today, is Mike Levine. He's driving, I think it's a 1963 Corvair.
Yeah, I don't think it's out there. I haven't seen it.
But it's one of the most beautiful Corvairs I've ever seen, and he's out here racing. And, man, the fight between Scott Frazier and Andy McLean just keeps getting thicker and thicker.
Looking high above the road Atlanta forests, the hills of Brazelton, Georgia. And it's been this way for quite a few decades now. This circuit has seen some fantastic racing over the years.
Look at this battle. And we've got people right now watching from upstate New York, Syracuse, Alabama, Maine, Michigan. So thanks for joining us. Tell us who you want to see more of as we watch Tom Freilich now is leading that train of Formula Fords at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta.
Hey, here they come.
Now that's Scott Frazier's brother. He did our racing school at Roebling Road just this year. Alex Frazier in the 1972 MG Midget. That's actually Rick Frazier's car. But Rick had an injury unrelated to racing, I think, and is still not feeling well. So his son Alex is like, I'll take it, Dad. But they're from here in Atlanta. They have a construction company. They used to race enduro motorcycles. It's talking to Scott's wife. She's so happy that her husband's racing in race cars because she's like, well, he used to race enduro motorcycles.
Yeah, she's
and that's much
happier.
more dangerous. So to her, this is like a pillow fight.
Yeah, exactly.
I
love that shot coming over the hill there.
I do too, yeah. And
Nice.
so I call that car it is probably the most reliable British car MG Midget that we have. And this beautiful Datsun right here.
Talking of reliable.
Yeah, exactly. Driven by Thomas Phelan, 1967 Datsun SRL 311. Those are fun. Fair ladies, they called them, Datsun 2000s.
What year would that be?
67.
Nice.
13A.
You can see it's almost got an MG back, hasn't it? It's almost like
there's books about, they basically said, we're going to steal British styling.
Yeah.
European sports car styling and just make it reliable, and they did.
It's interesting. It took the Japanese a while to actually get into learning, if you like, design styling. But now they've done it. They've put out some beautiful cars.
Yeah, one of my favorites, because I still like the little British-looking sports cars. We were talking about it today, is that Honda S2000.
Yeah.
And then the new Miatas. I just think those are so pretty.
Yeah, they are pretty.
There hasn't been a series of Miata that I haven't liked. And that's coming from a 6'3", 250-pound man.
So, Group 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is their first feature race. They get to do it again. What do they do overnight, Ben, between races? I mean, is there much to do? Or
Yeah, they party. So
well, no, but I mean, with the cars themselves. Obviously, I know they're out there barbecuing and
some
everything
oil
else.
changes. They do checkups. But
What goes
racing,
wrong? What's the biggest thing that goes wrong with the cars?
British car, usually you're checking the oil to look for what we call glitter, which is metal shavings. That's never a good sign. You're checking for overheating. You're just checking, make sure everything's tight, all the seals are good, all the safety equipment. But really, nobody is super upset. Like Mike Levine, we don't see him right now, but he's still here because it's also just a big part. They have a good time, and they have, we have people camping out. They go to the restaurants, and they all tell lies about how fast they are. That's a beautiful Formula B right there, the number 40 of Robert Bowden, 1969 Brabham BT29. I think that's, of open-wheel cars, these Formula Bs are by far my favorite.
Yeah, I love the design. When I first started following racing, I used to have, my mum used to put us meal, like plate settings, and we had those Brabhams, those open-top Brabhams like that and Coopers, and that's where I first saw them, and I thought those were great.
That was your fine china?
No, those were table mats. But that was when we had, posh dinner.
Yes. Okay, yellow flag out, local yellow, and that is, I like to see that the cameraman pointed at it. That's awesome. So that's turn 7. Can't see a number yet as Andy McLean and Scott Frazier go by. So he's off in a safe area there. So,
but he's not got damage. It's just it's a mechanical of some
that.
sort. You can see he's just put his hands on the air going,
RC in race control is going to, I think he's going to see that and say he's in a safe place. We're going to probably throw a local yellow. Oh, there go the double yellows. Darn it.
Oh, well.
I was hoping that we would get out.
Well, the good news is that they can drag him. I know where he is. They can drag him to turn
right
7 and then just reverse him.
Yep.
Boy. He had to put the anchors on fairly quickly then.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a funny story, because the person that's in our race control right now just got the job about 3 years ago. We call him RC. He changed his name legally to RC. And I totally give him a hard time. His name used to be James Blagojevich. And he changed his name to RC because he always wanted to be race control. And somebody said, always dress for the job that you want. He's RC in race control, but his real name is James Blagojevich.
So if I dress like Sammy Hagar, there's still hope for me.
Yeah, dude, you can't drive 55.
True.
So what happened is a double yellow came out. The caution has come out. We have a safety car. The cars will line up behind the safety car, and we're hoping that James Blagojevich gives us a green flag and we can get back to green racing. And when I say race control, that means there are people up in the tower that are monitoring everything that's happening. All the corner workers around the track are giving reports to James Blagojevich, RC, race control, up in the tower to make sure everything is safe. Our initial principle in racing is safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
But even look, under safety car, those cars are still smiling. They're just so happy to be out there.
So we've got a bit of a delay here, and we've got a car parked between 6 and 7, what you're looking at right now, and where they're coming to. You'll see on the right-hand side of the shot as it pans to the left. Or in fact, if we look down, you can see there's quite an action.
We have a comment from Manley Ford right now that's watching, and one of my favorite shots I've ever gotten. We were at an all-MG race, which, of course, is the best racing, and Manley Ford got up on 2 wheels in his MGT series, and then I had a camera on an MGA right behind him at Groton, which is a crazy racetrack, and then that car got up on 2 wheels. It's really cool. So Manley Ford, thanks for joining us. He said he went to school and used to race here back in 1984 was his race school and has been racing ever since. So welcome to the broadcast. So we're having legends of vintage racing join us today on our broadcast. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and I can see the checkered flag being readied.
So we're going to finish under yellow checkered.
Yeah.
That's not fun for anybody.
No,
but it's safe.
It's safe, exactly. And you make the good remark. And these engines will get to cool down a bit.
Scott Frazier's not going to be happy because that means Andy McLean came out on top.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So Shrek beat Kermit, the Frog Eye Sprite. I need to put on the headlights, I need to put those white ping pong ball Kermit eyeballs on there at grid so he can't get out and take them off.
So there's the checkered flag just in front of me, and in a moment you'll see it yourself as they come down the hill. There it is. And unfortunately, we finish under safety in our group 1, 2, 3, and 4. My thanks again to Ben Sissel for taking us through some of his favorite cars, without a doubt. I enjoy watching him describe and listening to him describe them too. And come on down to an SVRA event and get amongst it with us, because they are really, truly a walk down memory lane and a chance to see some of the great history of motor racing for your very own eyes. So that concludes it. Robert Bowden takes the win then over Randall Green in second place in the Lotus 23B, but it's the Brabham who beats the Lotus today, and Gregory Hibbs in the Merlin 20A takes third position. And in a moment, we'll have some more action on track, but quite different action, as we go back to the Radicals. Confirmation of the result, though. Robert Bowden takes the victory in the Brabham. Randall Green takes second place. Gregory Hibbs. Then Tom Freilich in fourth position. Daniel Becker in fifth. Andrew McLean in sixth place wins the battle of the Austin Healeys. And Scott Fraser 7th, Alex Fraser 8th, Thomas Phelan in 9th position, and Mitchell Hibbs rounds out the top 10 in that Merlin MK11A. So that's the group results. We've got some great radical action coming up next, so stay with us. And if you're wondering, yes, the TA2 Championship is also coming up very soon. Stay with us. We'll take a short break.
I'm